Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Hazwani binti Abdul Razak and I am from class IC2103A and my metric number is 2019253346, and today I would like to present to all of you about differences of price determination in perfect competitive and monopoly market. First of all, let me introduce to all of you about the structure of the market. The market structure has been classified into the various of market form based on the four items. The first one is the characteristic of the goods that companies produce. The second one is the number of companies in the industry. The third one is the difficulty level of new companies in entering the industry. And the last one is the magnitude of the company's power in the market to determine the price. The first market is the perfect competitive market. In this market, they have many producers and also they have many consumers. This is because in this market, they are actually a perfectly homogeneous good and they have no barriers for the newcomer to enter or exit this market. The producers in this market are well known as a price taker. This is because they can determine how much product to produce, but the price of the product are determined by the market. This market practice, the price is equal the marginal cost and the firm earning zero of economic profit. This concept shows that the price and quantity is economically efficient in market. The second market in Malaysia is the monopoly market. In this market, they have only one producer but many consumers. This is because of the lack of economic competition and the lack of viable substitute goods. In this market, they produce the same type of product but at the different branding. For the example, different in term of product taste, different packaging, different in term of quality of the product, different in term of the product reputation in the market and others. The monopoly market also means that the producer is a price maker because they doesn't have manufacturer competition. In this market, the firm have monopoly powers, but it is limited due to the customer. The monopoly market have their own characteristics, such as they have many sellers, but the price is determined by the monopoly firms. They also produce distinguishable items. It is mean that the goods can be distinguished in terms of the branding or the packaging. Monopoly market can be seen as a public utility company such as an electricity company that dominate the market. As an example, the Tenaga Nasional Berhad or TNB that dominate the utility. For the example, the utility company doesn't have any close competitor when it comes to electrical interface. The company can put a high price of the repairing cost, but the consumer doesn't have any choice because the company doesn't have any substitutes, and at the end, the customer have to pay the electric cost to keep using the electric. This shows that the monopoly firm act as a price maker. The third one is the monopolistic competitive market. These markets are a market where there are many manufacturers produce items of different patterns, and basically is a market that is between two extreme markets, namely perfect competition and monopoly market. The structure of the market is there are many sellers, the nature of the product differs in pattern, enterprises have little internal power, affect price, facilities in entering the industry, and the sales promotion competition is very active. This is because the monopolistic competitive market are a price makers, not a price takers. This is because in order to increase their prices, the firms need to make a differentiated of their products from any competitors by upgrading their quality so that they can raising the price. The monopolistic competitive market rivalry tends to lead to intense marketing, so different company needs to make a broad distinction between similar goods. Monopolistic entails several companies competing against each other but selling goods that are in some way distinctive. As an example, economies that offering multiple choice of clothing and the restaurant or any supermarkets that sold different type of foods. The last one is the oligopoly market. The oligopoly market is a business network with a minimal number of businesses, which no one can prevent others from having total authority. The monopoly market is just one firm, the duopoly is two, and the oligopoly has two or more firms. There is no exact limit on the number of firms in the oligopoly market, but the number must be minimal enough so that the behavior of one firm have a significant impact on the others. The structure of the oligopoly markets there are only a few firms in the market, which is relatively little because they have several large firms dominating the oligopoly market. The oligopoly market have the same item and distinguishable goods, which mean that the goods was produced are the same type of product and can easily replace it with one another. They also have barriers to enter and exit the oligopoly market. This is because of the restrictions of economic law according to the scope and possession of natural resources. The last structure of the oligopoly market is interdependent. So that's all from me. Thank you.
In this slide, we just stated the three objectives of our assignment. First, we will describe about the concept of perfect competitive market and monopoly market. Second, we will identify about the differences of price determination in perfect competitive market and monopoly market. And the last objective is we will explain about the comparison of the price and level of production in perfect competitive market and monopoly market. I'm Nurfizah binti Muhammad Effendi as a second presenter of this group allowed to explain about the first objective in this assignment. The first objective is to describe about the concept of the perfect competitive and monopoly market. Okay, we go first to the perfect competitive. The definition of the perfect competition is a business structure in which a significant number of buyers and sellers are present and all compete at a single market price in the procurement and sale of homogeneous items. In other words, ideal competition also refers to as pure competition happens when there is no direct competition between the competitors and they all sell the same goods at a single price. In perfect competition, many small sellers supply a homogeneous product to a single purchasing market. According to Boyce 2020, perfect competition is a type of a market structure where many firms sell similar products and profits are virtually non-existent due to fierce competition. With that said, it is important to realize that perfect competition is an abstract term used to compare against real-life market. The theory of perfect competition is rooted in the economic thinking of the late 19th century. Next, I will explain about the features of the perfect competitive market. This perfect market has several features that we can see to determine whether it is categorized as a perfect market or not. Among them, a large number of buyers and sellers. In perfect competition, buyers and sellers are big enough that no person can affect that industry price and production. The price of the commodity cannot be affected by an individual consumer since it is too small in comparison to the entire market. Similarly, the volume of demand, which is too limited in comparison to the range of sellers operating in the industry, cannot be affected by a single seller. The second features of the perfect market is homogeneous product. The homogeneous product is provided by each competing company so that no individual prefer a specific seller over the others. Salt, wheat, coal, and others are some of the homogeneous goods that clients are indifferent and purchase from those who charge a lower price. Therefore, an increase in the price will allow the customer to go to some other supplier. Okay, other than that, the third features of perfect market is free entry and exit. Under perfect competition, firms are free to enter or leave the industry. This means that if a company suffers a hard loss due to intense competition in the industry, it is free to leave that industry and start its business operations in any of the industry it wants. There is therefore no restriction on the mobility of sellers. It means that the entry and exit of company depends solely on economic consideration alone. If the three above conditions are met on their own, then it is considered pure competition. The monopolistic dimension is absent in pure competition. Monopolistic combination are not feasible with many producers selling the same product and with the ability to join and leave the market. Besides this, the fourth features of perfect market is perfect knowledge of prices and technology. This indicates that both buyers and sellers have full knowledge of market trends such as commodity costs and the new technologies used the manufacturers them. They can then buy or sell wherever and whenever they want to. The consumer also are well aware of the goods sold and the prevailing market price. At different price level in the market, the seller know the future sellers. Since consumer know all about the product and the prevailing price, there is no need to incur any promotional and advertising expense by the companies in perfect competition. In this this is important because there does not need to be any ads when the market becomes perfect. When the business is imperfect, advertising plays a domination position. In a perfect market, indifference of any consumer is ruled out. The fifth features of perfect market is no transport costs. It is believed that there are no transportation costs in a perfect competitive market. Where transport costs are incurred, the price in various business sectors should be different. No transport costs are incurred. Example, when goods are shipped from one market to other. This is important condition of perfect competition, as the homogeneous commodity should be priced at the same time at the same price in the market, and if transport costs are applied to price which vary. Lastly, the features of perfect competitive market is absence of government and artificial restriction. In perfect competition, all consumers and sellers are free to purchase and sell products and services. This ensures that any consumer can purchase from any seller and any seller can sell to any buyer. Thus, no limits are placed on either party. In addition, prices are subject to adjustment free of charge as per the demand-supply condition. In such a scenario, no major producer and government can interfere and regulate the market, supply or price of goods and services, so that under perfect competition, the price taker is a seller and does not control the market price. Next, the definition of monopoly market. A monopoly is a business arrangement characterized by a single vendor offering a particular commodity with a limit on the entry into the market by a new company. Simply placed, monopoly is a type of market in which a single trader sells a certain product for which there is no near replacement. It is important to first define what it is when looking at the causes of monopoly. The term monopoly originates from the language of ancient Greek, monos, which means soul, and polio, which means sale. Approximately translated, it means single vendor. Any individual or company who is the sole seller on the market may be considered as a monopoly. Okay. The second point, monopolies are recognized as massive corporation that seek to take advantage of the customer. They seek to use their power to set rates that outweigh what would usually be charged by the customer in a fair market. As a consequence, they are typically highly supervised in order to discourage unreasonable activities that take advantage of customer. Next, we go to the features of the monopoly market. This monopoly market has several features that we can see to determine whether it is categorized as a monopoly market or not. Okay, the first features is full control over supply. Under the monopoly, the company has full control over the supply of the product. The elasticity of demand for the products is zero. In a monopoly market, the company may change the price and quantity of the goods or services. In an elastic market, if the price is lower, the company will sell a large amount of the products. If the price is high, the company will sell a reduced quantity in an elastic market. The second features of the monopoly market is single seller. A single seller and multiple customers are the primary aspect of a monopoly. A single seller or manufacturer of a specific product exists, and there is little distinction between the business and the market. But often there is no distinction between the company and the industry in a monopoly. The company itself is an industry. This is because only one makers and or seller exists. The demand curve of the company is thus the demand curve of the industry. As there are many buyers, the price in a monopoly market cannot be influenced by an individual buyer. In a monopoly, for a product or service, one seller generates all the production. A single company represents the entire industry. The company is the same as the business for practical purpose. Alright, we go to the third features of monopoly market. The features of monopoly market in price maker. A monopoly firm is a price generator or setter of prices. It is the sole manufacturer of a commodity. It can have a hard effect on the availability of goods to the consumer. The price of a service is thus wholly under the power of a monopolist. The monopolist reflects a high market control situation. A business with a demand is referred to as a price creator. This contrasts with a competitive market, a price taker with zero market control. Companies may impact a product's price, and thus they are price producer, not price taker. The monopoly shall decide on the price of the goods or item to be sold in order to demand the price required by the company. The price is set by calculating the quantity. It means maximizing revenue. The fourth features in monopoly market is high barriers to high barriers to entry. There are also a variety of factors associated with business monopoly that make it impossible for a number of other potential commodity sellers to enter the market, which suggests that a seller's monopolistic existence creates obstacles to other sellers entering the market. These considerations may be economies of scale, access exclusively to distribution or production channel, protection of patent or copyright, and other examples, which may cause obstacles to the entry of other sellers into the market. Even if the monopoly firm make a supernormal profit, new companies face several obstacles in attempting to enter the market. There are many explanations for this, such as legal obstacles, technology, or naturally occurring material that most cannot find. Often the monopoly exists in a small market, making it economically impossible for new companies to join. So other vendors are unable to reach the monopoly market. It means that there are obstacles to potential entrants. Moreover, the next features is downward sloping demand curve. This is also one of monopoly's key features. Okay, the demand curve under the monopoly market is sloping downwards, which means that the company can make more profits only by increasing the sales that can be made by lowering the price of the product. Here it is rare to see the demand curve or AR curve facing a competitive firm in perfect competition. Perfectly elastic horizontal straight line to x-axis acts as the business is too small. Any quantity can be sold at the price given. But from left to right, the demand or AR curve facing a monopolist is sloping downwards. It means that while the monopolist has power over the price, the elasticity of the market for his commodity cannot be ignored. In order to sell more, he has to lower the price, or if he want to increase the price, he should be prepared. To take any reduction in his selling. Okay, the last features of monopoly market is the monopoly market, no close substitutes. This is another significant aspect that produces a monopoly. Since the entire idea of a monopoly is based on the belief that there is only one vendor on the market for a product or service that meets a certain customer need. This means that if such a product or service were to be substitute, customers could easily meet their desires by using such a replacement, defeating the essence of a monopoly. Therefore, in a monopoly, the commodity being sold by the seller on the market is not closely substitute, and the absence of a replacement allows the seller to sell the product at whatever price they consider convenient and best, without any ability to regulate and control the prices of the good or service. There are no immediate alternative for the commodity of a monopolist. In a monopoly, the commodity generated by the monopoly does not have a similar substitute. If there is a close alternative, so the monopoly cannot exist. For the information, monopoly will only occur if the elasticity of the commodity generated by the monopoly is zero. Thus, the monopolist will decide the price of his own choice and refuse to sell below the price decided. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Akila binti Jasmi. My matric student is 2019423436. Okay, today I would like to present about differences of price determination in perfect competitive and monopoly market. Okay, for slide 1, buyer and seller must follow and pay the price according to the firm. It means if they want to sell or pay some goods, they must follow the price that confirmed by the firm. So it will give some problem to company that focus at their profit. Okay, then price for perfect competitive market was influenced by three conditions. Firstly, market period. Secondly, short term, and thirdly, long term. Okay, first condition is a market period. So, market period is a condition that have a short period to company finish sell their goods. Okay, for example, for the wet goods, seller must finish or sold them in one day because it can become worse. So, the company cannot make or renew their product in a short time. Okay, so it will affect company profit. Okay, secondly is price in the short term. So price in short term is related to the firm's balance. So in this problem, all firms can produce their commodity because time is very limited and they can't grow up their new plants. So it will raise issue that company cannot fulfill customer demand and it might happen an inflation. Okay, thirdly is price in the long term. Price in the long term can bring benefit and harm to the firm. Okay, for example, a firm can make a change for or modification with the system. Okay, they can upgrade their equipment for better. Okay, they also can grow up and replanting a new plant. But in the bad side, they need more cost if they want to upgrade their equipment. So there is obstacles that they must face. Okay, in slide 4, monopoly market only has one manufacturer that control all the supply that has no replacement. Okay, for example, partnership or companies. Okay, determination price in monopoly market was influenced by three conditions. First, personal aspect. Second, local aspect. And third is trade or consumption aspect. Okay, firstly, personal aspect. What aspect? Okay, the seller will sell their goods to customer with low price if they know each other, but if they doesn't know the customer, they will sell their goods in normal or higher price. So this situation show to us the discrimination in price in monopoly market. Okay, secondly, local aspect. Local aspect means item or good will be in different price based on situation or place. Okay, for example, if the item was sell in area that crowded with people, the price will increase. Okay, if the item was sell in an area that doesn't have a lot of people, okay, the seller will put a price with a normal price or lower price. Okay, thirdly, trade aspect. Okay, trade aspect means price for goods and service will be charged by a seller with a different price. Okay, for example, electricity service will be charged at low price for large industrial because they will use large scale of electricity. Okay, so if the electrical service are used by the small industries, the seller will charge the price at a normal or lower price.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurul Afika binti Shahimi, metric number 2019230062, and I'm going to explain about the objective number 3, comparison of the price and level of production in perfect competition and monopoly market. So before I explain about perfect competition and monopoly market in a curve form, so I will explain a little bit about the differences. Whereby the perfect competition, there are many producers and consumers, no barriers to access and entry into the market, perfectly homogeneous goods, perfect information, and well-defined property rights. Meanwhile, monopoly exists when there is only one producer and many consumers. So imperfect competition also producers are price takers that can choose how much to produce but not the price at which they can sell their output. Meanwhile, in monopoly market, monopoly are characterized by a lack of economic competition to produce the good or service and a lack of viable substitute goods. We move to the second slide. Okay, this is the curve of production in for monopoly and perfect competition. So here we can see in monopoly market, the marginal revenue curve and the demand curve are distinct and downward sloping. But in perfect competition, the marginal revenue curve is horizontal and equal to demand or price. So when the production occurs when the marginal cost and marginal revenue intersects. So we can see the production occurs because both the marginal cost and marginal revenue intersect, but just the curve are different, whereby the marginal revenue in monopoly are downward sloping, and in perfect competition the marginal revenue is equal to demand or price. The last slide is about the comparison in short run supply and market price. Okay, whereby we can see the curve of perfectly competitive firms total revenue because of constant price of the goods as a positive line with origin of coordinates, and short run total cost is equal to its fixed cost and increase of product level start with a lowering rate and will increase with effect of diminishing return and total revenue curve moving upwards, and thus the short run equilibrium point of firm will be at the point of maximum profit or at least a loss. So we can see the curve of perfect competitive here. It already shows the process, the total revenue curve, the break-even point, the maximum total profit, and the total profit. Okay, in monopoly market, due to the variable price of firms' short-run slope, total revenue curve is downward, and due to the negative slope of the demand curve, as a result of lowering prices in order to increase sales, and the short-run equilibrium point of a monopoly firm, will be the same as the competitive firm at the point of maximum profit or at least a loss. So in the monopoly curve also we can see the firm incur lose maximum total profit, the break even point already shown in the curve.
The conclusion of the overall research of my group assignment is the idea of business system is fundamental both to economics and to marketing. According to Fisher, says that market structure is important in that it affects market outcomes through its impact on the motivation, opportunities, and decision of economic actors participating in the market. Perfect competitive market structure is closely related to monopoly market. It is a more realistic approach to perfect competition in the real world. For the example, the McDonald's and KFC fulfill all the requirements for being a firm in this market structure. Both of the firms are a great example to illustrate the monopoly market from the concept and the feature. They have an advantages in the perfect competitive market, such as by having many producers and many consumers at the same time, they can having a performance in the allocation as it runs at an average expense that hits a minimum level. Also, in this perfect competitive market, they doesn't have any price competition because their goods are homogeneous and it can save their cost of production because they don't need to advertise their goods. In the monopoly market also have an advantages such as the market and the consumer have many options to buy any product. It is because the firm produce almost identical replacement items in terms of price and quality of the product but also have the same function. It follows that the market price is determined by the relationship between demand and supply. Price comes to settle on the market at a level where the curves of the demand and supply cross. As we know, every market have their own unique way on how to applying their marketing to attract more customers. But every market also have their advantages and disadvantages too. So we as a consumer need to be alert and always up to date about every marketing that exists in Malaysia. Marketing nowadays have become more interesting topic to explore. This is because there's a lot of platform to explore, especially from online platform. This is because according to the statistic, they have 29 million networks user in 2019. In this statistic, we also can know that everyone have their connection in the network, so they have been more easier to access any knowledge or any information about the market in the Malaysia. That's all from me. Thank you.